You are now listening to Mr. Z Blackneffect.
Fair use, fair use. Fair use, fair use.
I think particularly because, coming from the Black community where there's so many broken homes, and there's been a very toxic element, I would say, or I think there's been toxic elements of feminism that have ravaged the family to the point to where now sometimes it can be dysfunctional. And another caveat, I always look at like what that happy medium is, because you described an example where you basically had really no agency or no control, and it was almost like kind of like a gilded cage. Whereas there are other people who come at the other extreme where it's like there's almost no community, there's almost no support, to where they're kind of fending for themselves. And I know there's a report that came out a few months ago that talked about specifically Latina and Black women who don't marry are actually the most impoverished. And I think too, just as the economy changes, people by and large, just men, but especially women, since women still tend to not just be paid as well.
It's easier to marry a millionaire than it is to become a millionaire.
Yeah, and then I just think the economy right now is getting it to where like less people, and specifically less women, are even going to have the luxury to even know to be able to live a comfortable life if the economy continues in the way it is now. Who knows? There could be changes.
I have young daughters. I have a 24-year-old single mom daughter. I have a 22-year-old single daughter, and they rent apartments and buy houses together as females. They pool their resources with their extended network instead of putting that all in the hands of a romantic partner.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying they live together, they support each other.
Yeah, one of my daughters, they went to place together. So like society is horrible. Our economy, with the lack of affordability, with unfettered inflation, is making the single female life so much more expensive.
Yeah,
but maybe we don't sell our souls and our wombs so we can get the bag. Maybe we live a little bit more frugally, get creative, and figure out how to live the life of our dreams without that being dependent on a man. And then, like my partner, he's my love. He's my best friend. He's a relationship. He's not a transaction ship. Mm-hmm. I don't look to him to pay my bills. I don't look to him he's a school teacher, so he can't afford to anyway. He's just kind of getting by. But he's in my life because I want that human connection, that intimacy, the partnership, not so that I can get what I want financially. And it's time. I think that for me, that's I'm an atheist. I have very few sins, but I think that it's a sin to overlook the humanity and find ways to exploit other humans to get what we want. Certainly we have to survive in this world, but there are other ways to survive than exploiting people.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm never a fan of exploitation. I think I'm also, even for ladies, I would never advocate someone getting married or even getting in a relationship just to get your bills paid, because that's just not a good idea. And you talk a little bit about why. There are so many different problems with that. So I don't think that's it either. I always look
for me. I didn't date certain people because that guy's not going to go anywhere. And when I was dating after my divorce, then I still had okay, I'm only going to date. You have to have $1 million plus net worth. You have to be this. I had this checklist. And then I met Kevin. He was actually one of my YouTube followers, and we ran into each other at the Costco gas station. And he broke all of my rules. And he is the most amazing person in the world. So often we are missing out on the good guys, because the good guys, they aren't out there exploiting other people and climbing the career ladder and being assholes. They aren't chasing all the money. They aren't doing that shit to chase success. They are the school teachers. They're just the dentists who give away free service to homeless people. And as women, when we're looking at, I'm only going to date this certain type of guy, have standards. We all need to have those standards. Never settle for anything, but sometimes those standards need to be more relational and more connective, and not just who's going to give me the life of my dreams. I married what I thought was going to be that golden ticket, right? He was a trained missionary. He's good looking, hardworking, successful, and he abused me for 24 years, and my life was a rich nightmare. I think we miss out. We miss out on those guys. Can feminists create a better structure than the nuclear family? If so, how? Yeah, most feminists, the modern feminists, are definitely more interested in the tribe and in that social structure of extended family. Making sure you still have female friends, of keeping that man's place in balance. Feminists also do things like protecting your finances, making sure that you have an education, making sure that child support is shared. So I'm not just going to give up my career so that I can stay home with the babies. Babies need a daddy too. So why doesn't he take off a year so that he can stay home, rotate who goes to work? Absolutely. Many of the feminists that I know, and that's, a lot of my circle now is the feminists. Mm-hmm. Feminists do have some really good answers to making sure that we protect ourselves and that we keep both our lives and our male partners' lives in balance. I would say that my feminist friends, their husbands and partners are the happiest. They're better taken care of. They live with women who are fully developed, independent, autonomous, satisfied females. So yeah, I think feminism does have the answer to the nuclear family. It's all about keeping things in balance and supporting women as much as the men in the patriarchy have been supported.
Yeah. So it sounds like what you're advocating for is more parity and equality, not a situation in which, like you said, you brought up two
the submissive wifey.
you brought up two situations in which you basically didn't have a voice. You didn't really have much of a choice. This is you as a young girl, and then you have an arranged marriage. Everybody in the community, including presumably your family, is in agreement with it, and you just kind of like hook, line, and sink. And so there wasn't a sense of agency. And then also you said you had particular career goals that you wanted to do, and you were actually deterred away from doing those career goals. And in retrospect, you're like, man, like maybe if I'd had even a little more financial agency when he walked off and left me, then I would not have been homeless. Me and my kids would not have been homeless, right? So, and I can understand where you're coming from. Like I said, I've worked at homeless shelters before, and I've seen women in similar scenarios, again, not really fully knowing the whole construct, but just knowing women who, when they don't have any skill set, or when they don't have, not to say they don't have skills, they don't have anything that is immediately marketable, that they can make money with as far as a job. It can be a really challenging time. And then particularly today in 2025, as the economy, a lot of the programs are either being deleted, or they're being defunded, or they're having less resources or whatever. It's a whole different conversation. I think I come from a background that's a lot more feminist in nature. So I think I've always been interested in looking at it from the other side, and I do find that there are aspects of feminism that I look back now and mean like, I think that was toxic and that was imbalanced, and there are things about it that are misandrous. I think though, for me, I like to find particularly those who want relationships, because like even if you're a woman, you identify as a feminist, if you're straight, like you still want to be the man. And I think it's important as women to you talk about respecting yourself. That's also obviously important, but I think it's also important to have respect for other people. And
absolutely, I'm a mom of sons. Like I want my sons to be treated with love and respect. A little 16-year-old just popped his head in here. My last video on my YouTube is all about this. It's about that toxic feminism, and really like the midpoint. That midpoint is the protection of both of us, the respect for both male and female. Now, I will say the caveat to that is a lot of misogynistic men who are caught in the patriarchal power systems are horrible and toxic. The number one cause of death for pregnant women is their intimate partners, not childbirth, not pregnancy-related complications. I have had more assaults and attacks, sexual harassment. I had a death threat to receive. It's always from men. So certainly the patriarchy and that power system itself, we should keep pushing back against that, and we should make sure that we're vetting the men that we're dating. So is there a little bit of discrimination against men coming from me? Absolutely. Because I've been assaulted multiple times in my life, because I was brutally beaten by my ex-husband. So that's justified. But on a case-by-case basis, feminism absolutely can go too far. And I think there is a beautiful middle ground that a lot of modern feminists step into, which is creating that safe space for everybody.
Yeah, no, I can understand too. Obviously, you talked about you experienced different kinds. You've experienced, obviously, unfortunately, SA. You talked about having experienced physical abuse, and I'm sure that's something that you probably also saw in your particular closed your setting. And it sounds like you did grow up very much in a closed setting, because you're talking about you hated. You said everybody. Everyone that you know is kind of like that. You know, you are limited education, really limited ability to do anything outside of these, particular. So those kinds of scenarios are like prime for abuse, unfortunately. I mean, there's a reason like I feel like I continue to see like documentaries of like ex-Mormon wives or children escaping.
We're gonna keep seeing them,
because anytime you have a system that's too close, it's bound. Somebody is bound to get hurt. And I think something that you said, I think is really worth noting too, when you talked about the good men. This is something I talk a lot about on my channel, because I find, again, I talk about at least more from my community. I find that there's a lot of misinformation that goes out there, not only about my community, but I think even about African-American men, and which when you go down to like the numbers and when we actually look at things, you'll find that sometimes all it takes is just a handful of bad actors to really screw it up for other people. And I love how you have the example of like you had a list of what you thought you needed, and then you found out what was the best for you was a really, really good guy who maybe he didn't have that particular status, but you're a teacher. I come from a long line of teachers. You have to have
teachers are the best, especially as a man, right?
Yes.
Like you just have to I don't care about money, I care about the kids. Yes. And he was a farmer, and then he turned into a teacher.
That's fantastic. So it's like and unfortunately in those closed systems that you talked about, it's sometimes it seems like those good guys and those bad guys, they can be mixed in, and then everybody gets friended, and then everybody gets hurt and abused. And I
that's
like
where we just need to have our standards. We need to have our own life, be able to support ourselves, look at that marriage or that relationship, whatever it is, as a partnership, but protect yourself. and then set those standards. Like, what are the real standards?
Message.
For me, it wasn't. It ended up not being about the income. It ended up, Kev isn't a Mormon. Kev didn't check most of the boxes that I had on my list. My real standard is that kindness, that concern for other people, the love that he has for me, the type of a dad that he is. None of those things could be measured by any of the measurements that I had.
Okay. Once again, fair use, fair use, fair use, fair use. Shout out to Shay Sade, right? Um, this is a portion of a conversation Shay Sade had with a um older woman, Jenny Gage, was a member of Church of Latter Day Saints, right? She was LDS, Mormon, yes, and she was in a 20 some odd year marriage to um someone notable. She lived a great life, good money, um, whatnot, right? They end up getting divorced because he continued to cheat on her. Apparently, she said he physically assaulted her. Um, they met, he physically assaulted her, but LDS, according to her, um, kind of forced them and pressured them to get married, et cetera, et cetera. And she spoke of her experience as a Mormon woman. What was interesting was the dichotomy, and I did speak to Shay after this interview, and what I attempted to stress, just in case Miss Jenny was still listening, Miss Gage, better yet, was still listening, was she doesn't really appreciate the opposite end of radical individuality, right? Hyper individuality, of hyper agency, radical autonomy, right? Negative liberty that we experience in the Black community and that Black women exhibit in the Black community. It was interesting watching Shay Sade kindly attempt to get Miss Gage to appreciate there's an opposite end of what you're speaking of. You, as a blonde, blue-eyed white woman who was a member of LDS, and you having these experiences and being oppressed and not having much say, um, being forced to play certain roles, you appreciate this autonomy that you're afforded now that you're no longer a member. You appreciate that. But what you don't appreciate is on the opposite end of the life that you lived is a radical autonomy, hyper agency, negative liberty that Black women in mass live and exhibit. And much of what you see going on in the Black community, yes, white supremacy and anti-Blackness, of course. Yes, the sabotage of the state, of course. But much of the reason also that you see what's happening in the Black community is that hyper agency. The You can't tell Black women in specific anything. You can't hold them to any standard. So while you were living where you didn't have much of any say, you had maids, you're literally living the opposite end of what's happening with Black women in the Black community, right? So it was interesting listening to Shay attempt to get Miss Gage to understand. We appreciate what you're saying about your experience in the Mormon church, right? And how you and other women, white women, are treated, how little say you ladies have, how essentially all you are, according to you, is essentially a baby maker, baby incubator. And the only reason you have value is because you're attached to the men of value, and because the children come from you. We appreciate that. Okay. On the opposite end, once again, is a radical feminist take, a hyper agency, a negative liberty that black women exhibit that makes it nigh on impossible for black men to hold them to any standards, to any rules, to any norms. Black women make sure to let black men know they have the right to torch and destroy and explode any situation they find themselves in concerning black men. They have a hair trigger to destroy any relationship, any marriage, any partnership. That's why black men are not signing up for no partnership, because there's no roles. Huh? Exactly, Adric. Because black women's attitude in the black community is a hard who gon' check me, boo.
Who gonna check me, boo?
Exactly, Adric. And watching as Miss Gage struggled to appreciate the black community was nuke bombed, as I said when I was on Shay's channel, nuked bombed with hyper agency, negative liberty, and this radical autonomy. Nuked bomb with it, right? And what you find with black women in specific is trying to couple up this negative liberty and this hyper agency with the obligation of men to still support. And that is what they call community. Community are nothing but, in case of emergency, break glass man. Huh? Essentially, a community of mandingos and community eunuchs. A handful of mandingos and a horde of community eunuchs. So the women are the primary concern. The children are their offspring, the handful of reproducing women. Then you have other women who are part of that. And then the men are just there to either lay pipe for the handful of them or be community guard dogs and overglorified ATM machines for the non-select man. As Shay said last night, it's inverted from what you're speaking about, Miss Jenny Gage. And I can appreciate how someone like you can't really conceptualize this because you didn't live it. You don't live it. Huh? You don't have to live with the fallout of this gynocracy that the black community is, where everything black women do is to remind black men how much they don't need them, barely want them. But at the same time, the masses of black women never actually earn enough to live that. They can say it, they can try to live it, but there's a cost to that. This is when the shaming tactics come in. Huh? When black men and young black boys realize that black girls and women cannot be corrected, cannot be directed, they start heading for the exits. This is why black men's interracial marriage rate is increasing. This is when black women come with the shaming tactics, right? This is when they stress and emphasize that black men are here to protect, provide, and shut up.
I miss when men used to protect, provide, and shut up.
Huh? Black women are letting you know exactly what the play is supposed to be.
As a man, if you don't have house core job, don't look for a woman with house core job. And for the man that complain about women that do that, look for a man that has all three and they don't have all three. We can do that. We are women. You want us. You need us. Y'all want one thing from us. And mad because we boss y'all around because you're a fucking servant. You're a provider, right? You're a protector, right? You're a security guard and you're a goddamn assistant. Know your place. Stop being contradicting. And bow down. Because I'm sick of it.
Miss Gage, I could end the stream right there. Miss Gage, I could end the stream right there. This is on the opposite end of what you experienced. This is what black men experience. Now, to be fair, do most black women speak like this? No, but do they move like this? Yes. Will most black women admit that this is the prevailing ideology amongst black women in the black community? Absolutely not. Right? Absolutely not. This is the Moynihan Report debate, where black women refuse to admit that this is the way they move. But everything says this is the way they move. Huh? This young lady, who we refer to as Munchkin, shout out to Adric, all she did was say the quiet part out loud. All she did was say the quiet part out loud. But she's not the only one.
What if black women were supposed to be the leaders and black men are just supposed to protect with their muscles and use their listening ears and carry out instructions?
Huh? She's not the only one. There are multiple women who speak about, in the black community, what a black man's role is. Huh? Appreciate, Ms. Gage. This is the opposite end. So when you say a man is not a plan, which Ms. Gage said multiple times, black men are living, black women thinking that. And single and childless black women have the least amount of wealth in America. Huh? Black and Latina women who never marry are the least wealthy in the US because they're not being subsidized by men. Quite frankly, Miss Gage, women don't earn enough, and women are not going to spend enough on other women. Still to this day, the majority of women are not same-sex loving. Yes, even in the black community. Women don't earn enough, and women are not going to spend enough on other women. The reason why the tribe, as you called it, but Mr. Z calls it the covens because that's what it's going to be. The reason why the tribe model will always fail is because the tribe model will not have men defending it enough to save women from other men. Number one. Number two, because it will not have the resources and the finances to sustain itself long term. It needs outside support. Huh? You call it the tribe. Mr. Z calls it unpaid, unrecognized labor of the men. Huh? Black men are an example, Ms. Gage, that the masses of men are not going to sign up. Ms. Gage, an increasing amount of black men are dating and marrying out of the black community because of black women's comportment. That radical, autonomy, that hyper agency, that negative liberty, huh? It dictates how black women eat. It dictates how they conduct themselves, their behavior. It dictates how they see intimate relationship, specifically with black men, huh? It dictates how they raise the children who they see as their children. I appreciate Miss Gage if her story is true, and I don't doubt her on much. If her story is true, what she lived was the opposite end, right? What she lived was, and she said it, a sheltered life from her parents. She didn't even appreciate male erection, right? She was signed out of those triple X education classes twice growing up. So she really did not know much. And remember, we're speaking about a woman who's 50 plus years old. So the internet wasn't a thing. She was not informed. Okay, if we take her at face value, fine. This was a person that was highly sheltered. This was a person who was essentially SA'd into a marriage, had multiple children from this man, but lived a great life financially. Three cars, one car for vacations and special outings, right? Hired maids and whatnot. And yes, she spoke of essentially how the LDS is essentially white supremacist, which, who's surprised by that? Especially when you know the origin story and when you know of how black people were not included until, however, black people weren't allowed to rise up the ranks until, however, all of us that already know this, we're not surprised. With that, madam, you in your sheltered and closed off, experience being a Mormon woman as a white Mormon woman. What the opposite end of that is the black community led by black women, unfortunately, and the complete open door policy. Ain't nobody guarding the gates. So as you lived a sheltered life, and there's vetting that's going into being a Mormon, and they have strict rules and regulations. On the opposite end is the black community, the gynocracy, matriarchy if you want to be kind, gynocracy if you want to be accurate, and the open door policy, everybody running in and out. Bum ass white people, loser ass Latinos, Asians who want to be over here for no reason, well, better yet, to have a bit of fun, South Asians, everybody's rejects. Full on open door policy in the black community. Huh? What's going on, Dr. T? So on the and I would suggest everybody watch that interview. Big Mo's 100% correct. That was a good interview because what it showed you was the opposite end of the black community. That we don't have to go all the way to that extreme. And to be frank with you, I don't see if the black community would start getting it together. I don't see the black community going all the way to that extreme. But once again, Miss Jeannie Gage did not appreciate where the black community is. This radical, and I keep on stressing that this radical autonomy, the open door the black community got one of those doors that flip open both directions where people are just kind of like those cowboy doors where people are just walking in and out the black community doing whatever they want to do, urinating on tables, twerking on tables, defecating on counters, huh, eating with their elbows on the table, people just doing whatever they want to do. So I would stress that to Miss Gage. I appreciate, and if you notice something, for any of us that ever had conversations with your everyday white woman, right? They don't necessarily have to be Mormon like Miss Gage. Your everyday white woman, especially those of them that grew up kind of solidly middle class, maybe trending up to upper middle class, you will see much of them have similar worldview to Miss Jenny Gage. They don't really appreciate, like, hey, like that autonomy you talking about. There's a limit to that. Why, Z? Because you live on a planet with 8 billion plus people, and you live in a country with 50 million people. And for the black community, it's 40 some odd million people. There's a limit to that. Your radical autonomy is funded and subsidized by others. Huh? Because what happens when enough men say, yeah, let's end that? And I would like to say that to Miss Jenny Gage. She made mention of, the social programs that are being repealed. And she's right. I would argue, Miss Jenny Gage, and I agree with you that it's white men trying to check and put white women back in their place. I understand. I get what you're saying. Another way to look at it is white men saying to white women, and to be frank with you, the masses of tax-paying men saying to women, we're not going to fund and subsidize your middle finger to us. Huh? Do women pay taxes also? Yes. Do women pay taxes more than men? Uh-oh. Who puts more financially in the system? Ooh. Who maintains the physical infrastructure? Shout out to Sarge Willie P. Another way to see this, Ms. Gage, is men saying to women, we're not going to fund and subsidize your middle finger to us. If you're going to form these quote unquote communities, covens, where you don't need or even really want the masses of men there, nothing wrong with that. Fund it yourself. Protect it yourself. Ooh. Have fun on that one, Miss Gage. Huh? Have fun on that one. So I wanted to stress and emphasize that, Miss Gage, I don't see it. Right? I don't see it, Miss Gage. I don't see it. So I just wanted to give a few minutes to this. Shout out to Shay Sade. Great interview. As I said to Shay Sade last night, she is killing the interview game. She's having great interviews, right? And I found this one fascinating because of the lady story, Miss Gage story, and that's Gage, Gage, right? Jenny Gage. I see some of y'all saying she looked like Marsha from what you call it? I forgot the name of that damn show. It just slipped my mind, right? But yeah, no, it was a great interview. It was a great interview, right? So I'm trying to read through you guys' comments. My apologies. So I want to emphasize that at the end of the day, there has to be a happy medium. What you don't appreciate, Ms. Gage, is black women are already on A Man Is Not a Plan. The Brady Bunch. Thank you, Adric. I couldn't get it out. The black community already has the A Man Is Not a Plan. And you can see where we are because of it. The black community already has that. The black community already has and has already tried to, with black women, implement this quote unquote community that you speak of. Mr. Z calls it a coven because that's what it is. Everything you're saying, Ms. Gage, the black community tried it. Black women tried it. And it failed. It's failing and it's failed. Because as white men are exhibiting to white women, black men said, wait, what? Wait, I'm supposed to protect, provide, and shut up? Where they do that at?
I miss when men used to protect, provide, and shut up.
Huh? And also emphasize, black women are also telling you you don't have the same value as them. So yes, you are here as cannon fodder for all the cockamamie weird ideas they have. Shout out to Compassion and Callous. They're asked out to the market, and then they try to implement all type of weird ideas that you are supposed to backstop with your resources and your body, and you still don't have the value they have.
What top tier? Your dick is not equal to my fucking pussy. Point blank.
His
Period.
dick ain't equal to your fucking bills neither.
God damn.
Look, at the end of the day, I ain't
Them
fucking
bills
no
got
broke
your
ass nigga.
them bills got your name on it. They don't have his dick name on it.
At the end of the day, I ain't fucking no broke ass nigga. Do what you want with your pussy.
Yeah,
but
you don't
this
have to
pussy
fuck
got
no
a price
broke ass
tag on
nigga.
it. Straight
You
up.
look, no, You can fuck a nigga that ain't broke. That's not a problem. But just because he ain't paying your bills, don't mean he fucking broke. That mean it ain't his goddamn responsibility. Your bills got your name on it. It don't have his dick name on it.
Okay, you're right. I land my plane.
You see how that?
Huh? That is a conversation that we have in the black community because, as that young lady said, your private parts ain't equal to my private parts, black men. You don't have the same value as me. I have an inherent value that you don't have. There will never be a 50-50. This is what Mr. Z tries to stress and emphasize to anyone that will listen. Cut the crap with the egalitarian talk. The equality talk, we don't mean it as a society. Because at the foundation of the conversation, Mr. Z Ramen, are women saying, I have an inherent value that you don't have. And all this talk of equality, air quotes equality, does is tip the hand to the women. Here's the thing, it won't go acknowledged. Huh? And she's not the only one.
I'm making this as a PSA to any man that ever thought he had a chance with me or any man that wants a chance with me. If you like 50-50, stay where you're at, baby, because this mouth is only going to get more egregious. I promise you that. I'm paying these big bills and you think I'm not about to be talking to you out the side of my mouth? Watch this. Watch this.
Huh? She's letting you know, if you have me paying half the bills, I reserve the right to be disrespectful, mean, and mean-spirited. Miss Jeannie Gage, maybe because of your experience and you being on the complete opposite end, you appreciate the dance and you're okay. And as a matter of fact, Miss Jeannie Gage says she earns more than her quote-unquote partner, as she kept on saying. She earns more than him, but she appreciates him because she came from an opposite end where she had the man who had the money and the lifestyle in, right? But she didn't have certain freedoms and liberties. What Mr. Z is emphasizing is on the other end of that are women who have all the liberties, all the freedoms, all the autonomy, and they maxed it out on everything. And you know what they have to show for it? Loneliness. Huh? That's what they have to show for it.
Don't shoot the messenger. Feminism told y'all be strong, independent, and alone. And y'all followed it to the grave. Y'all pushed all the good men away, called submission slavery, and think being difficult is cute. Now y'all 35 and tired, looking around like, oh, where the good men at? Sis, they moved on. Real men want peace, not problems in a lace front and a loud voice. Feminism sold y'all freedom, but they didn't mention the price. Loneliness.
And literally, that young lady hit the nail on the head. It sold y'all freedom and it didn't mention the price because, once again, Miss Gage, men are not subsidizing women, giving them the middle finger. Huh? It's not going to happen. So black women maxed out on the autonomy, in the agency, in the negative liberty, Mr. Z said agency, hyper agency, and it cost them the middle class. Definitely the upper middle class. Rich don't make me laugh. Ooh, Mr. Z Ramen. Huh? Now that we're transitioning, like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat. Right? And let's actually do this before we transition. Fair use, fair use, fair use, fair use. And once again, shout out to Shay Sade. Great interview once again. And I wanted to just emphasize that to Miss Gage. Her story was interesting. I sense real honesty from her, to be honest with you. With that, I appreciate your, essentially you're waking up in your mid 40s, early 40s, right? And you're waking up to a world you were mostly cut off from as a young adult, as a teenager, young adult, middle age. And so you're exiting a marriage where you were a Mormon woman, right? And so now you want to explore all the things and you want to fight back against what you saw as an oppressive community, an oppressive religion. Mr. Z gets it, right? Oppressive rules and norms and customs and culture. Mr. Z gets it. I appreciate what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. What I would emphasize to you, Miss Gage, is on the other side of that is the Black community by and large, which have none of that. There's no guard gate. There's no guards. There's nothing to insulate the Black community from all type of weirdo ideas. Shout out to Compassionate again. The Black community is asked out to the market. All different type of weird ideologies, customs, norms, not even norms, just coming in and out of the Black community. Mostly trafficked on, or trafficked in, better yet, by Black women. Right? So we'll pause right there on that one. And let's continue with this other. And shout out to Kyle Kalinske. For those of you that checked out my community tab yesterday, Kyle Kalinske has something to say. Like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat. Kyle Kalinske didn't say that. And shout out to the replay gang. But let's get underway. Here we go.
There's been a lot of talk about, how disaffected young men are feeling, right? And of course, in the last election, there was a noticeable move to the right among that demographic. It used to be the case that, young men were reliably a left-leaning voting demographic. And that did change under Trump too. But one of the points that I made when I was on Josh Citarella show, he asked me, like, what do you make of Trump, gaining with young people, gaining with minority communities, etc. I said to him, that's not going to last. Like, it's definitely not going to last. And well, I'll be damned. It definitely didn't fucking last. In fact, in the last elections, it was a blue tsunami. And some of the voting demographics that shifted the hardest, it was these minority groups that had voted for Trump before, and also young men. They voted overwhelmingly Democratic in these last elections. I think you're about to see a similar thing coming up for the midterms. But one of the things we don't talk about all that much is young women, right? Like, there's a lot of talk about the loneliness epidemic among young men and how all they do is fucking play video games and hit their vapes and fucking, I don't know, you tell me. But they're not really going to parties. They're not really communicating with the opposite sex, or at least not in the numbers that they used to do. They're very, like, isolated and antisocial and, in the goon cave together. But again, there's a lot of talk about the issue with young men, but nobody really talks about, okay, well, how are young women feeling at the moment? How do they feel dealing with young men, right? Looking for a potential mate among young men with all of their problems in this moment. Well, this is interesting. There's some new polling data that just came out, and man, I mean, this is wild to me. This polling data is like, you want to talk about a crisis. Is there a crisis among young men? In some ways, you could say yes, although I think it's a little bit overstated. But listen to this, bro.
Americans say they want to leave the country permanently. This is according to a new Gallup poll. 20% of people say they want to live somewhere else.
So 20% of Americans, according to Gallup, say, I'm done with this country. I want to leave it. 20%. 20%. That's amazing. That's millions of people. But wait, it gets better.
That's 1 in 5. And the shift is mainly driven by young women, ages 15 to 44. 40% of them say that they want to go. And Martha.
Okay. Ready? So when you look at, like, Gen X and boomers, right? 45 plus men and women, they're mostly like, okay, I'm staying here. 8% of men 45 and older want to leave. 14% of women. But women 15 to 44, 40% of young women are like, hey man, I'm trying to get out of this hellhole. I'm trying to get out of this fucking piece of shit, sinking ass, Titanic ass country. 40%? Damn. And we've been talking about young men. And hey, what's the crisis with young men? And man, they got to put down the vape and get off the fucking video games and stop being antisocial and get their head out of their devices and fucking expand their horizons and go communicate more and go play a sport. Meanwhile, nearly half of young women are like, I'm done with this country. It's fucking cooked. It's over. It's done. I'm out. Wow. And look, I have to say, I get it. Not even just from the perspective of like, trying to find a significant other amidst the current crop, but I get it from the perspective of like, everything is just broken. Like everything is broken. Nothing fucking works anymore. They're actively trying to make the country worse. Like that is exactly what the Trump regime is. The Trump regime is an attempt to sort of codify permanent billionaire rule, permanent fascist rule, permanent warmonger rule. And so, if you're a young woman, there's going to be no more social safety net. They're totally, completely fucking taking that away. That AI is coming to take everybody's fucking jobs. You don't have the same sort of social circle that you would hope that you have. And look, I think some of these problems, while every country is facing some problems or some of these problems to one extent or another, it's not the fucking same. It's not the same as here. There's other countries, they have more of a sense of community, right? There's more of a sense of community in many European countries. People actually talk to each other. People actually like want to hang out with each other. But in this country, and it is probably uniquely American, how extreme we are on this front, but like we're a very individualistic, atomized society. And, you have to have a car if you live in this country. You got to drive to places, and you're more separated from, your fellow citizens. I guess if you live in some cities, that's a different case. But in most cases in this country, people are not taking public transit. They're driving to work. They're alone most of the time. All of your free time is spent, on your devices. And I understand the perspective of like, what are we doing? Like, it might be time to just abandon ship. It might be time to just try to get the hell out of Dodge and try to build a better life in a place. I mean, look, I have friends who did leave, and these weren't even people who were like left leaning, but they ended up leaving. And I think they would probably say my life is a lot better since I moved to London, for example, is where one of them went. 40% of young women, bro. 40% of young women. That is absolutely positively astonishing. I mean, that number is that's a crisis among young women. Like, you want to talk about, it's like quiet quitting from America. Like 40% of young women, that's like quiet quitting from America. And you can't blame them. You can't blame them because the Republicans are actively trying to destroy this country, and young women as a voting bloc, as a voting demographic, are overwhelmingly voting for Democrats. They don't want to deal with this.
Quick confession, everyone. While Kyle was going off, I couldn't really hear, and I was doing stuff in the background that I wanted to bring up. So we're going to play that again. But Mr. Z clearly listened to it already. I want to emphasize this to Kyle. Kyle, where the hell are American women going? Huh? Where are American women going? Where are they going where they'll be subsidized? Ooh. You said in the beginning that there are prospects for partnership. Where are they going? Do American women want to pay for peen? The thing with these folks, particularly on the left, is they always discount the part that women want men that earn more than them. Miss me with the conversation about men and their supposed insecurity. Women want to be with men that earn more than them. So the question is, where they going? Ooh, look at that. Average monthly salaries. And these are the countries that's making some money. Huh? Where are women going, Kyle? They could talk that. 40% of women in America. So if we split America down the middle. So that's 170 million men, 170 million women. So what's 40% of 170? Huh? Give or take what? 60 million? 55 million? Huh? 75 million, somewhere around that. 70, 75 million? Where are they going? Where are they going? Who's going to pay? You see the wall they run into? Maybe if they date out to other men in the West. Huh? Maybe if they date out to other men in the West. Canada, As St. Cyr is saying, Britain, maybe France, possibly Germany. Germany, definitely. Britain, maybe France. So were they going to outcompete the women in Germany and in France and in Denmark and Finland? Once you get out the West, the yearly income drops. The average, if I'm not mistaken, yearly income on planet Earth is something like $9,000 a year. Where are American women going, Kyle? Where are they going? They talking that, it sounds nice, but where are they going? These women don't even want to do 50-50 financially, Kyle. Where are they going? And St. Cyr says, Z, American Canadian women are in for a rude awakening if they think European men pay for everything. They're splitting everything in Europe. And there you go. Huh? St. Cyr continues and says, all those countries you named are notorious for 50-50. Well, will you look at that? Huh? Where are they going? All that sound nice. These women want their autonomy and their freedom, but they want men that still earn more than them. They still want to be subsidized. In aggregate, will you meet the Ginny Gages of the world who are with a man who earns less than her and she loves it and she loves him and she doesn't see anything wrong with that? She accepts he's a teacher and this is what he's going to earn and she's going to earn more. Yes. Is that the majority? No. Huh? Adrian says, Kyle got it made. Z, your question is moot to him. Yeah, Kyle married Crystal Ball. Crystal Ball make more than Kyle. Don't Crystal Ball got money from a divorce or whatever the hell, life insurance from her ex or whatever the hell? Yeah, Kyle was doing his thing. Kyle got his own money. Kyle been making big money. I've been watching Kyle Kalinske for a while. He making good YouTube money. But Crystal came with that check. Y'all have a different situation going on. The masses of women don't have that. They looking for men to come with that money. Not equal money, Kyle. More money. Huh? So it's easy to talk that, Kyle. Kyle, you came up. Oh, wait. Kyle is what again? White man. Ooh. Kyle, you came up financially. The men are not. Oh, geez, y'all already know reckless. We gonna keep. Don't put it in the comments. Don't put it in the comments. So back to Kyle Kalinske. Kyle Kalinske doesn't really appreciate, like, hey, bro, this is not what you have, and most women are not signing up for that. All this talk of the men are insecure and intimidated when the women earn more, when the women are more educated. Cut it out. I want to emphasize this again. Too many of us in the West, but particularly in America, let's emphasize America. That's why Mr. Z grew up. We don't bring women to the deep end of the pool in conversation when they start talking about how the men are insecure and intimidated by their education and their financial success. I would suggest to everyone who truly believes that, put pressure on the women in conversation. Ask the annoying questions, the uncomfortable questions, and watch how quickly they will either imply, suggest, infer, or just outright say they're not ending up with a man who don't earn at worst equal to them, if not more. It's easy to side with and agree with women because women are always going to throw the men under the bus. The women are always going to say, it's the men. They're so insecure and intimidated. I don't really care how much money, as long as he has a job and he's stable, as long as he's not costing me, I don't care how much money he makes. It's the men. They're so insecure and intimidated by a strong woman who earns good money and who's educated, who has a career, who's independent. The women are always going to frame it that way. Bring them to the deep end of the pool in conversation and see how quickly that fall apart. Add some pressure. Ask the uncomfortable questions. Huh? And see how quickly you end up. The women are taking, shout out to all of you in the comments, exactly. The women are traveling overseas. And they're telling you how those European guys, they not paying for no dates. They're not paying all of it. They believe in 50-50. And look how the white women, the black women, some Latinas, but the white women and the black women are acting about it when they go to Germany. And the German men like, oh yeah, so how we splitting this up? Ooh. The women are saying it in video. Huh? But yet 40% of women say they're gonna leave America or they would leave America. Get out of here. Huh? Ooh. I didn't see this. And Adric says, and thank you for the super chat. Let's read this one now. Adric says, Crystal in an interview said, I got a house. So they were having a conversation, and what she said, I got a house compared to Kyle, or is he saying in the divorce from her ex or whatever? Because I don't really know what that background is, if her ex passed away or not her ex, I guess. But if I don't, somebody might know that story. But yeah, I know Crystal came in with the money, right? And it's not all the money she was making from the Hill or whatever the hell, right? So was she saying that to Kyle in a conversation, or was she saying that concerning whatever situation she had in the past, or, and thank you for that, Adric. Thank you for that, right? AB says, I told you that's her simp, Kyle. Look, yeah, I know Kyle has no children. Crystal has, 3 or something like that? 2 or 3 or something. I know, right? Yeah. And Saints here, don't worry about. I know what you're talking about. Look, I'm listening to the story now, not like right now, clearly, but like I got up to part 3, almost part 4. And Saints here says, yes, they are traveling overseas. Z, when you get a chance, please check your email. It's relevant to what you're talking about now. Nigerian American woman got scammed out of 32,000 by Danish man. Yeah, I'm following it. As a matter of fact, Z, what you doing? We got the pictures. She fair. Look at her. Cheesing. Boy, she could have, over 6'3" tall Danish white dude. Boy, she had the white of the white. You couldn't tell her nothing. Huh? Oh, man. Mr. Z going through the story. Don't worry about it. Oh. She done messed up and told a Danish dude she ain't never been in a real relationship before. Well, y'all marks be giving them way too much. Mark, right? Mr. Z is not about taking advantage of people's heart, but appreciate this as a Nigerian American woman. Y'all are primed to be paymasters for any non-black man, but definitely white man. Huh? Women of color, namely black women, have to really sit down with themselves and do a real interrogation. Y'all done move me off the Kyle thing. I'm going to get back. A real interrogation of why they think the things they think about men, about relationships, about intimacy, about race, oops, about white men, yikes, and how much are y'all just coping with this Black men are inept, incapable, colorist, featurist, texturist, and white men appreciate a darker skinned, slim black woman, and I don't really have to have all this shape and all the stuff y'all tell yourselves and tell other women. And we keep on finding out story after story after story of black women, namely darker skinned black women who are not unattractive, that a black man would love to be seen with, successful black women who end up getting taken advantage of by non-black men in relationship, namely white men. Huh? All right now. And this is a fairly good-looking, tall white dude. You know, if he wanted to, he could rack up on black women across the planet. From Africa to America to Latin America, he could rack up, and it would be easy to scam black women that have a little bit of change out of money. Easy. Exactly, GC. Easy money. To be frank with you, dude could go anywhere on the planet. If he fall in Asia right now, he gonna take them Asian women for every goddamn dollar. He gonna take them Chinese women, the Japanese women, Singapore, everywhere. He gonna take them for every dollar if he wanted to. He fall in Latin America somewhere, he gonna take them for every goddamn dollar in Brazil, in Venezuela, in Chile. Maybe not Argentina. It's already white. It's already white. Right? You drop him off in the Middle East, he might get his head taken off because the Middle Eastern dudes ain't playing. But their wife will be sneaky linking with him. Huh? So let's call a thing a thing. Huh? And she's a fairly attractive, there ain't nothing wrong with her. She could have got her a fairly good-looking brother in America. Huh? Anyway, I'm still following the story. We'll get to it. Right? Y'all might get a stream later on tonight or maybe tomorrow. We'll get to it. Huh? Hardbuck says, not mad at him. I'm not. Right? You done messed up and told a dude you ain't never been in no serious relationship. Y'all over here kissing each other face off in the taxi, as you said, and in the airport. Huh? I don't want to throw African brothers and sisters under the bus, particularly Nigerians, but I gotta ask the question. What is it about Nigerian women in specific where we're getting so many LGBTQ Nigerians, ooh, goddamn, women, we're getting so many extreme feminist Nigerian women, and we're getting so many anti-black men white peen coddling, slobbing on, and worshiping Nigerian women. If you're a Nigerian woman and you're hearing this and you're offended, so be it. Ooh, goddamn Z. That's the question. What the hell are Nigerian households producing other than PhDs? Shout out to the PhDs. We ain't gonna hate on the PhDs. But what's going on where so many Nigerian women are on some extreme feminist kick, LGBTQ, or white peen coddling and worshiping? And to be fair to y'all, I don't see the difference in none of the three. Ooh, goddamn Z. Huh? Asriel says Danish drizzle. You hear me? To be fair, shout out to the Nigerian brothers. This is not really about you. But Nigerian American and Nigerian UK and Nigerian Canadian women, oh my God. We let y'all talk, it's either gonna be some white worshiping thing, some extreme feminist thing, or some LGBTQ thing. It's all the same. Huh? Y'all feminist LGBTQ until the Danish white dude walk in the room. Ooh, goddamn. Uh, the Danish 6'3" white dude walk in the room. Chisel chin Brad walk in the room. And all the LGBTQ and feminism crap go out the window. God forbid he got a couple of dollars, or at least could pretend like he does. Huh? Ah. Hard buck says he's a prince of Denmark. Low key, she was. Remember, I only got to like part 3. Low key, she was implying that. Y'all done got me all the way off of what Kyle was talking about. Huh? Oh man. Let me read some of you guys' super chats right now because we're gonna have things to do. I read that from Adric already. And KW Don says 80% of women in households work in Canada, and the job market isn't popping like that unless you are blue collar / skilled trades. True. I want to emphasize this though, and that's going back to what Kyle was saying. It sounds good. It's a novel idea. You know, it's one of those if I win the lottery type of things. The women don't really mean it. If women in America had to get out here, and by the way, the reason why I'm emphasizing the man relational aspect of it all is because Kyle brought it up. If women had to get out here, American women, and travel to other nations and try to couple up with a man, will some of those women, white women, black women, mainly white women, Asian women, Latina women, end up with a man who earns more than them? Yeah, yes, a handful of them. But the masses of folks in other cultures and nations have a different way of moving. It reminds me of, y'all remember a few months ago when they were doing man on the street interviews of American men and Russian men, and American men kept on saying, you know, what's wrong with 50-50? What's wrong with, you know, equality and whatnot in relationship? Because this is how y'all raise those young men or those men. And the Russian men were like, no, I believe in paying for everything and doing this and paying for dates. And then come to find out, and shout out to Media Man, Russian men didn't make nearly as much as American men. They couldn't do it if they wanted to for the masses of them. And that the actual situation in their households was akin to 50-50. It's akin to that, everyone. Women in America are popping that they couldn't do it even if they wanted to, because quite frankly, the masses of men outside of America don't earn enough. So unless you go and pay for peen, huh? And there are plenty of stories. I follow what's the brother that travels, and he mentioned a story of a black woman in France, and she moved back to the U.S. because the French dudes, once you get out of Paris, and even in Paris, once you get out of Paris, I can't remember where she was. She was low key at a vacation spot, looking for paymaster white men. Not gonna happen, huh? So they'll talk your panties off with the French, all the romance that you'll be funding. Yeah, KW Don, I appreciate what you're saying. But for all of you that were in the comments that were saying, you know, Z, it ain't gonna happen. I get it. I'm entertaining the idea though. The women could talk all that all they want. It's not gonna happen. Mr. Z did the math. Once again, we spoke about this earlier this year, I think late last year. I can't remember if it was median or average income. Once you for globally is like $9,000 a year or something like that. I think I had rounded up too. I think it was 8,000 and some change. Mr. Z rounded up to 9. We'll do 10,000. Screw it. We'll do it live. We'll do $10,000 a year. American women could cut it out. You're not going anywhere. And even if you did, y'all don't want to pay for peen. And I know I sound crass saying that. I know a better way to say it would be paying for a relationship. You don't want to be the primary breadwinner of the relationship. You don't want that type of income gap. There's a pun in there. Huh? You don't want that type of income gap. You don't want that type of wealth gap. There's far better tactful, classy ways of saying it. Mr. Z appreciated. No, let me hit y'all with the stank, as Cornel West would say. Y'all don't want to pay for peen. You definitely not gonna be subsidizing peen for a decade plus, for 2 decades. You're not gonna do it, ladies. Stop it. Materialistic consumers, women in America are gonna be paying for men, not for a night or a week or two. We're not talking about 50 and 60 some odd year old women who are going to Jamaica and then paying for the boyfriend experience. 40 and 50 some odd year old and 60 some odd year old women going to Jamaica and paying for the boyfriend experience. No, 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 no. But that's for a week or two. No, we're talking about years, decades, where this is your long-term boyfriend or this is your husband, and he's going out to work if he does work, and he's bringing home his check of a couple of dollars a day, and somehow you work for some, you know, company that allows for you to travel, and you're earning $150,000, $200,000 a year. Stop playing, Z. Okay, fine. You're earning $50,000 and $60,000 a year. It's not gonna happen. Stop. Huh? And Koturo says the market got the Nigerian chick. Shout out to Compassionate. You see the market idea of white men being better. Huh? Ah, she fell in love with him off of first sight. Okay, cool. Mr. Z doesn't fault her too much. By the way, I still only got to about part 3, so we don't know how many red flags she done missed already. But if she's where I am, he already flew her out. She already went to a work function with him. Cool. I get it. He love bombed the hell out of you, and you fell for it, hook, line, and sinker, for the number one reason. He's not American. We can't call he's not a passport bro or none of that. Number one reason you fell for him is because he's tall, white, good looking. And you said the money was the cherry on top. You said that, young lady. Say that, GC. GC said, was it missed or was it ignored? Ah. We'll get to it, Mr. Zio. We'll get to it, right? Okay, and Ezra says she was in the south of France. That was Skylar's video. She said she felt some type of way that the Frenchmen weren't as ambitious. Yes, that's the video I'm talking about. That's the video I'm talking about. Yep, that's the one. Thank you, Ezreal. That's the one. We have it all the way backwards in America in specific. I don't know how many places outside of America, even in the West, where you have to be hyper ambitious as a man. Exceedingly, insanely ambitious. Or at least look like you are, right? You always hustling, right? All that hustle talk, all that get rich or die trying talk, that just looks odd to a lot of people outside of the West, definitely outside of America. Huh? So yeah, you in the south of France and you see all these French white dudes who you think are hot and good looking, and yet for you they're not ambitious enough. Wait, what? Where do y'all think y'all gonna go excuse me, better yet, why do women think they're gonna go everywhere and the men are just gonna be hustling and bustling all the time, every day? I live in the south of France. Why would I be a Jay-Z, a Warren Buffett? Why would I be that? A Jeff Bezos, a Bill Gates? Why would I be that? A Robert Smith? Huh? Why would I be that? No, that's how you Americans move. The hustle and bustle all day, every day. Huh? The men and women from Shark Tank. Why would I be that? Huh? No, I live in the south of France. I wait for single ass women like you to visit and chip me off a few dollars for this pipe, for the boyfriend experience. That's what I do here. If I have the looks and I live in the south of France and I'm some tall French white dude, oh, you better believe I live here. I make sure my body right. I got the six pack. I walk around the beach with my shirt unbuttoned. I make sure I know all the bars, all the bartenders, all the clubs. And I wait for women like you to visit. And I talk your panties off and you drop off the money. Huh? Yikes. So we'll revisit Kyle, because he got things to do. We'll revisit Kyle and what he was saying, right? So yeah, y'all, we'll revisit that later, and I'll try to finish listening to the what did she call it, Danish scammer? and you know, like I'm laughing right now, but I can imagine. I mean it the way I color to sit down and ask themselves, what is it about white men and white y'all supposed to be anti-patriarchy, anti systems of oppression, and yet y'all keep on going after the dudes that are the face of patriarchy. It's fascinating. But I get it. Look, she was super. Look at her. Huh? Well, you couldn't tell her nothing. Huh? Y'all traveling. Huh? Look at the smile on her face. You can't tell her nothing. Look at her. And he's suited and booted. I get it. Huh? I get it. Street dreams are made of these. Not street dreams, Z. Stop it. We're not laughing at the young lady. We laughing at the situation. Huh? Man. Saint Cyr says, sorry we threw you off. See, you know, it happens sometimes. It happens sometimes. You hear me? Starman said, nose open like a mofo. And she said, when she said that, she's like, yeah, and I told him. And by the way, remember, I'm only up on part 3. I don't know how many parts. It looked like it go up to like 20 or 20 something. And when she said that in the recording, when she was like, yeah, and I told him, you know, I've never been in a serious relationship, and I'm like, why would you? Oh, the marks be giving up so much. And by the way, many of us got played before, not on this level, not by, you know, but still, like, if you're not aware, you'll be somebody's mark. True, but the marks be giving up so much game, y'all. Oh, man. Saint Cyr says it's like a 25-part series. Oh yeah, I'm definitely not far enough. Oh, Saint Cyr says not only did she get scammed out of 32,000, her family member got drained for 200K by him. Wow. Wow. Oh man. And you, Z, because I low-key was prepared. I just didn't get finished. I wasn't able to finish the whole thing. Here y'all go.
Danish Deception series has taught me that I am not wife material, and I'm also not one to be swindled. Because how do I find out that you have a gambling addiction and you asked my homegirl's husband for close to 200K American USD behind my back that you still owe him, and I'm taking care of that debt for you?
I just want to be a beautiful black queen. Like, where's the exotic?
A black girl, she is a dynamite. She's awesome. I mean, physically, she's brown.
You take me for fool, girl. Just because I say I love you, you gon' try to play my love.
Talking up about how when white boys' views get low, now they love black girls. Oh my God, they love black girls until you go to that following.
It's funny how no one is talking about the most obvious thing about the Danish deception. Everyone is making theories, and you can see that everyone is actively avoiding the most important aspect of this, that his whiteness was everything. White men, random white men know that once they're on TikTok and they have 10,000 followers and their views are low and they need money, they know that just appeal to the little stupid nigger bitch. She'll come running. The stupid niggers will come running. The nigger bitch will come running. Oh my God, my white chocolate. They know that. They know that all they have to do is just make a random video on the internet and thousands and hundreds of thousands of my biological mates, women that the universe created for me, not for them. My biological mate will leave me and run to them and express how much they desire those men. She opened her mouth and said he was the most beautiful Norwegian man, Viking she had ever seen. So my point here is, if white men, random white men know that they can always use black women for a come up, what do you think a scamming white man will do when he meets a rich black woman who worships the ground he walks on? What do you think he will do? That's what this is all about. Is she get money, she's rich, she has money. She found a white man. And within the first few months, he understood that his existence is everything she had prayed for. That it, like, you got Olandria right now on Twitter. It's trending. She said her boyfriend being non-racist is what she loves the most. That's the bar. But anyways, white man, you need money, hit up black women. They will take care of you.
Remember now, Gothic is Nigerian, and this young lady is Nigerian. You know, Ezreal says he really called her a ninja bee, right? And Earl says, why he put it that way? Because that is the way it's seen. Y'all seen the videos that Gothic just played? The black women know it too. If you're a white dude and you have a social media account and your views are low, just appeal to black women. Huh? The reason why I played that after I cut my own self off is to emphasize what Gothic was saying. Huh? It's too easy. Black women make it so goddamn easy. It's too easy. He understood the mission. He accomplished the mission. And y'all so damn loud on the internet with y'all contempt for black men. See, y'all think about, okay, if we just stop worshiping white men online, then no. Your contempt for black men, that's loud, and your worship of anything not black. Huh? And Leon says, and thank you for the super chat, damn Z, he said the hard ER and emphasize the yitch, right? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Huh? And I get it, you know, fairly attractive white dude, fairly good looking, yeah, tall, 6'3". She said he was 6'3" and all of that. Y'all going. To be honest with you, it just so happened to be a black woman. I said it, you could land this dude anywhere. Look, them ladies opening their wallet. They going. Women of color have to sit down and ask themselves a real question. Are you really anti-patriarchy? Are you really anti-white supremacy? Are you? Are you really anti-systems of oppression? Or is it, ooh, goddamn, Z, you're about to ask that question. You don't think certain men are worthy of practicing that type of power? Ooh. Huh? You don't think certain not white men, black men, ooh, are worthy of having that type of power? There's only one man on planet Earth, and he's white. Women of color, you got to ask yourself the real questions. Huh? Women of color in the West especially, because the other women don't really be having access to these dudes like that unless they visit or travel, you know, outside the West. That's a real question, women of color in the West, definitely in America. Are you really anti-patriarchy? Are you really anti-systems of oppression? Huh? Really anti all of that? Anti-white supremacy? Are you? Because if we send this Danish dude at you, How many of you are gonna fold, and then in a year or two you gonna have the same story this young lady had? If y'all didn't know that he did that to her, how many of you, especially those of you that are earning okay money, how many of you in a year or two you would have the same story? I'm looking at you, Asian women. I'm looking at you, Latina women. I'm looking at you, Black women. I'm looking at you, Indigenous women. Huh? Grab second. Oh, I think I get it now. And grab second gear says, this is the one I wanted to read. Open wallet and leg policy. You hear me? Huh? As Mr. Z has said, shout out to KMS. Face down, ass up diplomacy. We get it, ladies. We get it. Huh? Yeah. Saint Cyr, I haven't been following the story, but I figured it was something like this. And Saint Cyr says Rory, from Rory and Mal, been appealing to black women all his life, and it turned out he don't really rock with black women. Yet his baby mama is black. There you go. I knew it. I clicked on it. It's in my history, and I didn't get a chance to get back to it. But when he was on, what was that, Clubhouse or whatever, and they started grilling him, yeah. We could tie this to Miss Jenny Gage. Miss Jenny Gage, as you dismantle patriarchy and quote unquote systems of oppression and the assumption of male leadership, the women are not going to not want it anymore. You know what they're going to do? Run for the hills. And the top of the hill in their mind is the white man. The women want what they want. All y'all did was make it more difficult for them to have the man that achieves it. So the men that do and that are the face of status and money and good looks, etc., the tall, rich, good-looking white man, all the women are going to default to him. That doesn't mean they're not going to end up with black men and Latino men and whatever. But the default of man, not male, not M-A-L-E, no, man will be the Danish guy. Uh-oh. Ah. Okay, and Azrael says, if you want the full details on Rory, just watch Accountable Commentary. He was roasting people, calling black women tar babies. Ooh. Yep. Yep. When, by the way, for everyone, we keep saying this. When did being a racist white man stop black women from opening their legs for you? Or any woman of color for that. Mr. Z said any woman of color. Any woman for that matter of fact. White women, Latina women, Asian women, black women. When did being a racist white man stop any of them from opening their legs for a white man? I'll wait. Indigenous women, when did that stop? How often we find out the white dude that deleted George Floyd, Asian wife, Asian pageant winner wife. And if you see him, you be like, how the hell? He don't got no looks, he's just a police officer, and yet he was able to land him an Asian woman who was a pageant winner. What? Huh? That ain't nothing. Huh? Gothic said he was entranced by Jodie Turner-Smith. Yeah, Jodie Turner-Smith is attractive. And Jodie Turner-Smith one night stand Joshua Jackson. Oops. And then proposed to him on bended knee. Yeah. Women of color. Mindy Kaling over here, baby mama to white men as an Indian woman. Women of color. Nikki Haley over here, her man going on tours, and she over here letting white dudes hit in the goddamn limo. Women of color. Huh? Ah, KMS is watching the white women on replay. I swear these broads are allergic to scale and scale. Every situation doesn't extend beyond your literary line of sight. Like an actual child. Hashtag peekaboo politics. I like that. I'm gonna use that. Peekaboo politics. Peekaboo politics. We gonna use that, KMS. Let me actually, y'all gives you a second. Let's do this. Y'all gives you 1 second. Okay, now y'all got Z freestyling. But yeah, no, I want to emphasize that, y'all. And excuse my background, regular streams. But yeah, so oh no, KMS, when you get a chance, and I'll put the link in the description after the stream, but when you get a chance, check out that actual interview. Shout out to Shay Sade. The lady, the lady didn't, at least from what I could tell, she didn't mean anything negative out of it. I could understand, especially with where she's coming from in her background and wanting to run as far away from that as humanly possible. But what Shay was trying to emphasize, what Game Changer spoke on when he got on the panel, and what I spoke on when I got on the panel, and what we're trying to emphasize is, lady, there's a whole other side of what you experience that's not that great either. And what you don't appreciate is that in the Black community, we're living that other end of what you're speaking about, right? And I know I might be boring out. We'll get to a good place in a minute. But yeah, on the other end of what you're talking about, lady, you don't want this. You don't want what the Black community is. They're to the radicalism, making up words now, that you're on. There's a cost to that. And it's a dysfunctional, quote-unquote, community. And maybe you appreciate that because of what you lived. I get it, but yeah. Right? I get it, but yes. Right? So yeah, Candace, yeah, she and trust me, it gets better after she gives her story and she says a man is not a plan and whatnot, and you see Shay, Shay being kind and trying to tell her like, hey, bro, we hear you, but hey, we, Black people, on the other end of what you're saying, yeah, we get it. Y'all gives you a second because I can't take that sound. And let's end that. There we go. All right. Yeah, on the other end of what you're saying is the Black community, and here, ma'am, right? It ain't all hunky dory over here. And thank you for that, KMS. And let me see if I could do this. Can I make this turn? Where are you? Okay, you are turning. Yes, do it if you're gonna do it. Okay, you're doing it. All right, perfect. And we'll highlight this for now. Get a chance to read it. But yeah, y'all. So yeah, that was a great conversation. Definitely. With Shay Sade and Miss Jeannie Gage. But yeah, y'all, look, we will review the young lady, Black young lady, and the white dude. Yeah, the fact that she got taken, like, bruh, right? And that's why I played Gothic. Nobody want to talk about race. That was the part that I wanted to say, and I remember Gothic said it. Right? Train tracks. To speak about the racial element would be Black women conceding and women of color conceding that particularly white men have an easier time and easier access at playing women of color, at getting XXX fun from women of color, at women of color being kinder and nicer to them. In other words, the white beauty standard and the idea of white attractiveness and white kindness and white legitimacy, white professionalism, all of that does not end at the tip of the phallus of men of color. What is Mr. Z saying? It is not exclusively a man of color thing. If you let women of color speak, particularly Black women, they will frame it and speak as if it's Black men, it's men of color, by extension, who are obsessed with the idea of white beauty, light beauty, right? This is why you get called all type of colorist, featurist, texturist. But what you see with this story, and with many others like this story, are women of color, namely in this case black women, are not beyond the idea of the European beauty standard, and they fall for white basic men, let alone an attractive white man. A tall one on that, and he looked, at least initially, like he got a couple of dollars. Oh, they go in. Notice Mr. Z ain't say nothing about no character, personality, none of that. Huh? And I saw one of you say he's being a true Viking. People don't know the history of the Vikings. They don't. The Vikings been pillaging since been pillaging. Huh? The Vikings been pillaging. That's what they used to do to Britain or the UK, better yet. That's what they did to France. That's what they used to do. The Vikings used to get on boats and eeny, meeny, miny, mo, who we robbing today. If you don't know, this is what they do. Huh? Shout out to any Danish people listening. No, Z, you're right. We're not going to try to bury you with your past. But still. Huh? Where is it in red? Oh, I can't remember. In France, they call it starts. Oh man, it starts with an R, and it's essentially a place where the Vikings pretty much set up shop in France, and still to this day, it's named after the Vikings. I can't remember. Oh, it's right there, man. I can't get it out. But anyway, yeah. Yep, lady. It's sad. I don't want to, make fun of her. We're not making fun of her, not yet. Anyway, we're just laughing at the situation, madam. We're not laughing at you. We laughing at the situation. Situation, right? Like the situation, madam. But yeah, man, y'all, women of color. I got some real question. And once again, as Gothic said, the one thing I don't see y'all bringing up is that racial element, as if that's not the one of the determining factors, right? That's the factor right there. That's the thing right there. Ain't nobody talking about that though. So yeah, yo. And let me read this because we're gonna have to end out in a minute. And KMS says, peekaboo politics. If I can't see it, it doesn't exist. And it rhymes too. Peekaboo politics. If I can't see it, it doesn't exist. Politics. Exactly. If I can't see it, it doesn't exist. And it rhymes. Rhyming. Right? No, yeah. Yes. And that's concerning, once again, Miss Jeannie Gage, who spoke to Shay Sade last night about her Mormon upbringing and her Mormon relation. And once again, KMS, thank you for the super chat. Thank you for the super chat. Yeah, y'all. So we're gonna end out. I'm going to have to come back and cover the Kyle Kalinske and what he was saying. Maybe we'll have some more materials for that, and we'll end up with the Danish scammer guy. We'll speak about that. But once again, ladies and gentlemen, it's too easy. Black women make it too easy. Women of color make it too easy. Y'all are not immune from the European beauty standard. And I think that y'all think y'all are is why it's so much easier for you to get swindled out of money by these dudes. All right? No, it's not Rubicon, Azriel. I'll look it up. I'll try to find the answer for you guys. I might put it in my community tab, right? Normandy. I think Earl. Yeah. I think so. As a matter of fact, let's do that. Gives you a second. It is Normandy, Earl. Thank you, Earl. It is Normandy. Yeah, it's Normandy. Yep, it's Normandy. Normandy. Right, yep. But yeah, y'all. Viking, he and she said he pretty much got her with conversations over the phone over the span of a couple months. And when she landed, after not seeing him for 2-3 months when they first met, they were kissing each other face off in the airport, kissing each other face off in the taxi, and then got to the hotel and and you told dude you never been in a real relationship. Oh, the marks. Dear women of color, dear black women, y'all gonna keep on. Hey, I get it. Tall, good-looking white dude in Germany. That's where she met him, by the way. Yeah. Anyway, y'all, we'll get to it. So yeah, we'll end out right here. We'll pause right here. Love, peace, and chicken grease. Y'all go check out other Black Manosphere content, other non-Manosphere content, for the love of God. All right, y'all. Mr. Z out. We'll do a part 2 to this where we cover the rest of this story and we cover Kyle Kalinske. The what they call him, the Danish I'm saying Danish scammer. That's not what they call him, but yeah. What was it again? The Danish deception. Yeah. So, all right, y'all. Mr. Z out.
You are now listening to Mr. Z Blackneffect.